Aquatru is a pretty well-known name in water filtration, so when they came out with a premium shower filter, I wanted to see if it actually delivered premium performance like their countertop ROs do. So I got the Aquatru shower filter, installed it, and put it through the same kind of hands-on testing I use for every product I review. In this video, I'll show you the lab data, our on-site test results, how it scored across all major categories, and whether or not it's actually worth that higher price tag. At the time of recording, the Aquatru shower filter sells for $149 up front, which puts it on the more expensive side for a shower filter. Replacement filters are still reasonably affordable though, with an ongoing replacement cost of about 3.1 cents per gallon. Based on average use, that works out to an estimated annual filter cost of about $177 per year. So while the ongoing maintenance cost isn't crazy, it still has a premium price up front. And when a shower filter costs this much, it needs to do more than just look nice and preserve flow rate. It needs to actually perform. The Aquatru shower is an all-in-one filtered shower head, so instead of installing a separate inline filter between your shower arm and your existing shower head, this unit replaces the shower head entirely. It comes in several finishes, including brushed nickel, matte black, polished chrome, and brushed gold, and it offers 4 spray settings: regular, mist, massage, and high pressure. Inside the filter, Aquatru uses what it calls a proprietary media blend made up of KDF, calcium sulfite, and catalytic carbon. Either KDF, calcium sulfite, or both are used in pretty much all shower filters, but catalytic carbon is a bit more interesting. We typically see this in whole house systems, and it's used to specifically target chloramines along with chlorine. The filter is rated for up to 1,300 gallons, and the design also includes a locking mechanism that keeps the shower head and filter assembly from coming apart unless you intentionally unlock it. There are a few things I liked about the Aquatru shower. First, it did very well in one of the most important contaminant categories for shower water, which I'll show you in just a minute in the lab results section. Second, it feels more premium than most of the other shower filters I've tested. A lot of these products feel like the same generic plastic body with different branding slapped on them, but this one at least feels like there was more original thought put into the design. It was also easy to install, easy to service, and it retained water flow rate really well. The biggest downside is that the performance was a bit uneven. There's one area where it did really well, but another area where I expected a lot more considering the price and the way it's marketed. It's also not yet certified, and if hard water is your main concern, it's not going to solve that problem. There are some strengths, but there are also some important trade-offs you need to know before spending this kind of money. So now let's talk about its performance and our lab testing. Before I get into the data, I want to clarify that this filter was tested in real-life conditions using our municipal tap water here in Colorado. The results reflect how it performed with our water specifically, and results could vary depending on the situation. For this review, we used a TapScore Advanced City Water Test Kit and took a baseline sample from our existing non-filtering shower head, then installed the Aquatru shower and collected a filtered sample directly from the unit. Samples were then analyzed at the laboratory to evaluate things like disinfection byproducts and hardness, and we also tested chlorine using a handheld colorimeter. That on-site chlorine testing is important because chlorine is volatile and best tested on-site. When I'm testing a shower filter, the contaminants I care most about are disinfection byproducts, disinfectant residual like chlorine, and water hardness. That's because these are the things most relevant to shower exposure. Disinfection byproducts like trihalomethanes can be inhaled and absorbed through the skin. Chlorine can make it smell like you're showering in pool water and contribute to dry skin and hair damage. And hardness minerals can leave residue on your skin and hair and make those issues worse. Other contaminants like metals, fluoride, and other inorganics matter more when you're actually ingesting the water and are less of a risk in the shower. The lab tests we use still analyze for them, but they're not the main focus here for shower filters. So let's start with the most important category. Disinfection byproducts, or DBPs, are formed when chlorine reacts with naturally occurring organic matter in the water, aka the microorganisms it's added to kill. In shower water, DBPs are a much bigger concern than most people realize because they can volatilize and be inhaled. 3 DBPs were detected in our baseline unfiltered water. Bromoform at 8.24 parts per billion, bromodichloromethane at 2.12 ppb, and dibromochloromethane at 4.67 ppb. Post-filtration with the Aquatru shower, all 3 of those were reduced to below the lab's reporting limit. This was great to see, and this is now only the 2nd shower filter I've tested capable of providing sufficient reduction of disinfection byproducts. Next is disinfectant residual, and in our case, that means chlorine. As I mentioned earlier, we tested chlorine on site using a handheld colorimeter rather than relying on lab data. Our baseline sample measured 1.68 parts per million of chlorine. After filtration with the Aquatru shower, that dropped to 0.94 parts per million. That's just a 44% reduction. Now, under our updated shower filter scoring system, disinfectant residual makes up 35% of the contaminant reduction category, and the scoring here is based on the post-filtration chlorine concentration, not the percentage reduction. A post-filter reading above 0.5 ppm earns a 6 in this subcategory. So even though the filter did reduce chlorine, 0.94 ppm still lands in that lowest scoring tier for disinfectant residual under our system. And that's one reason this result is so disappointing. For a shower filter built specifically to reduce chlorine, I expected chlorine to be much lower after filtration. Next is hardness, which is primarily a measure of calcium and magnesium minerals in the water. The hardness of our baseline water was about 250 ppm, which is considered very hard. After filtration, hardness actually increased by about 19% to 298 ppm. Now, I don't necessarily think that the Aquatru shower filter itself is adding hardness minerals to the water. This is more likely just incidental variation in the source water between when we took the baseline and filtered samples. What it tells me is simply that the Aquatru shower filter doesn't meaningfully reduce hardness or soften water, and to be fair, Aquatru doesn't claim that it does. If hard water is your main issue and causing skin and hair irritation and poor soap lather, check the description because I'll link up my video showing the best way to soften hard water for just one shower if you can't install a whole home system. Now, beyond those 3 main categories, there were a few other changes in the lab data. Some minerals and metals increased slightly post-filtration, but again, the primary route of exposure to these is through ingestion, and incidental variation in the source water between sampling is likely at play here. Of course, I'll publish the full lab results on my website if you want to check it all out in more detail, and I'll link that up for you in the description as well. Overall, the Aquatru shower filter earned an 8.36 weighted score. It did very well in DBP reduction, it preserved flow rate, setup was easy, maintenance was easy, and the design felt more premium than most of its competitors. Where it took a hit was chlorine reduction, lack of certification, and the fact that it does nothing for hardness. So let's break that down and look at how it scored category by category in our ranking system. The Aquatru shower earned a 7.8 for contaminant reduction. That perfect DBP performance is mostly what boosted the score here, since it's weighted at 50% of this category. But the chlorine result held it back because, again, the post-filter chlorine concentration of 0.94 ppm only earns a 6 in that subcategory. Hardness also scored low because there was no meaningful reduction. And then the lack of performance certification pulled the category down a bit further. The Aquatru shower got a perfect 10 for filtration rate. In our testing, it had an average flow rate of 1.63 gallons per minute compared to a baseline of 1.72 gallons per minute from our existing shower head. That means it retained about 94% of our baseline flow, which is excellent. Dynamic upstream pressure was actually measured at 4 psi greater than the baseline, which may partially explain the slight change in flow. For design, the Aquatru shower earned a 7.8. Most of that came from the overall component quality. It feels more premium premium than a lot of the other shower filters I've tested. The built-in locking mechanism is a nice touch, the cartridge design is unique, and the multi-spray settings make it feel more like a complete finished product rather than just a generic filter head. The main thing that negatively impacted the score here is lack of material safety certification. The setup score was 9. Installation took less than 5 minutes, the instructions were simple, and Aquatru includes what you need in the box, including plumber's tape and a wrench. Like most shower filters, this is a super easy DIY install even if you don't have much plumbing experience. The Aquatru shower earned a 9.5 for maintenance. There's only one filter to replace, and the replacement process is simple. You unlock the head, remove it, unscrew the old filter, and twist in the new one. It's fast and doesn't require tools or a bunch of fiddling around. The filter is rated for 1,300 gallons, and as I mentioned earlier, the replacement cost works out to about 3.1 cents per gallon. So while the upfront price is high, the replacement filter cost is low. Aquatru earned an 8.8 in the company category. They provide a 1-year warranty, shipped to Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, in addition to the continental US. They also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, though your refund can still be reduced by return shipping and handling fees. At the end of the day, I was a bit disappointed and hoping for better performance from the Aquatru shower filter. It did impress me that it was able to reduce dBPs and is now only the second shower filter I've tested capable of doing so, but its poor performance with chlorine and lack of performance certifications were major drawbacks. To see which shower filter actually performed the best in my testing and how it compares to options like this, check out the next video coming up right now. Click or tap to keep watching.